Voltaic Key, one of the most influential card in my MTG career, since his debut at World's Championship 1999, piloted by Hall of Famer Kai Bud. Now, it's part of my favorite modern artifact deck. Let me introduce 8 Keys. This deck aims to abuse untapped synergies to either gain tremendous mana, draw cards, and cast the best Eldrazi. Emrakul, OG of course. As always, the deck list is in the description down below. Now let's look at the gameplay. We are on the play on our first test case, and this looks like to be a keep. We do have an Astral Cornucopia with a green source and an Ancient Stirrings. That would mean we would probably be getting a way for us to put in a counter on the Astral Cornucopia. Plus, we do have 2 payoffs such as Urza Saga and Mystic Forge. Definitely a keep. We'll start off with a Ancient Stirrings. And looking at the hand right here, definitely we can get a Coretapper or a Power Conduit, which would combo with our Urza Saga. We get a Power Conduit and pass the turn before playing Astral Cornucopia. Urza's Power Plant into Expedition Map. This would mean that our opponent is playing Tron. This is going to be bad for us if they actually slam down a Karn, the Great Creator. So let's try to outspeed them. Ooh, Coretapper, definitely a very good top deck. From here, we can put in our Urza Saga, cast our Coretapper, sacrifice, and then we can put in a Power Conduit into play and pass the turn. Ooh, that's an Urza's Tower. It looks like our opponent is actually representing a natural Tron or a Tron via Expedition Map, and it's looking to be a bit sketchy. We're going to remove a counter and put it into our Astral Cornucopia because we want to be as expedited as possible. Saga triggers, and we top deck a Karn, which is very good top deck for us. Now we can set a trap right here, wherein if we do cast a Karn and the Expedition Map, they would probably search for a Urza's Mine, and then from there, we can theoretically do the Stone Brain and exile those cards. Alright, Saga triggers, we put a land into play, move the Tendo Ice Bridge counter into our Cornucopia, cast a Manifold Key, float some mana, untap the Cornucopia, float some more mana, and cast Karn Great Creator. Opponent responds with Expedition Map activation, Urza's Mine as predicted, and now we can go and search our sideboard for the Stone Brain, cast Stone Brain, and exile Urza's Mine. From this position, looking at their hand, they only have artifacts which Karn will effectively nullify, and from here, we should be able to win. And our opponent scoops it up. Alright. Game 2. Game number 2. This is a hand that we definitely cannot keep. We don't have a land. This is going to be tricky because we don't have an actual sideboard against our opponent. Plus, they are on the play. So, dollars to donuts. If they go natural Tron and slam a Karn Great Creator, then we'll just probably scoop it up. This is a hand that could potentially be kept with any other opponent, but against Tron, it's going to be bad. Emrakul definitely means that we're already down 5 cards or so, or 6 cards. So we're gonna mulligan. This is a hand that we can keep. We do have a 1 ring to actually be our payoff. We do have Urza Saga that is also technically a payoff. Then a combo with a Power Conduit. That being said, I think we should be bottoming a 1 ring and an Astral Cornucopia just to be safe. Opponent also mulligan down to 5. We're gonna keep this. Opponent starts with a Power Plant and just passes. We top deck a Coretapper. Very good. Gonna cast our Surge Node to Astral for 0. Hopefully our opponent doesn't have a Force of Vigor. Power Plant and Tower. Oof. Looks like our opponent has natural Tron, theoretically. And cast a Talisman of Resistance. Not looking good for us. They can just slam any other land and Karn Great Creator next turn, and just probably not be able to win from there. Ooh, but we top deck our own Karn Great Creator. Let's see how this goes. We can land drop Urza Saga, put in a counter to Astral Cornucopia via Surge Node. Then from there, we can cast our Power Conduit because this combos off with our Urza Saga. Pass the turn. Opponent's turn, and hopefully we can dodge. That's green. Okay, Sylvan's Crying. We're still not out of the woods yet. They can search for a mine. Put in a mine into play. They have Tron right now. And casts a Haywire Might. Yikes. If they blow up our Astral Cornucopia, then I'll probably scoop it up. Ooh, they don't have a green mana source, which is quite good for us. We're going to move 1 counter from Urza Saga to Astral Cornucopia. triggers on the stack, and we can do this every time Urza Saga reaches the third Saga point. We can just move the counter to Surge Node. Urza Saga doesn't die, but we can search our library for a artifact with 1 or 0 casting cost. Move that counter to Cornucopia, search for a key, and then from this position, we can cast our Karn Great Creator. But first, let's put in some counters into our Cornucopia. Surge Node into Astral Cornucopia, cast our Coretapper, untap our Cornucopia, sacrifice our Coretapper, cast our Karn, activate our Karn. Then from this position, what we can do is to delay their mana. So let's go for Liquimetal Coating, cast our Liquimetal Coating, and cast our Ancient Stirrings. Worst comes to worst, if they do have a Karn Great Creator, we need a way to pressure their Karn. We're gonna take a land. Gardens would be the choice. Pass the turn with an upkeep stop after playing a land. Upkeep. Let's turn that tower into an artifact. Pass the turn. They're going to attack our Karn. Our Karn lives, which is good. Alright, our turn. Saga triggers on the stack. Again, let's move the counter to Cornucopia. Search the library for a key. And let's try to blow up lands. So at this point, we do have a lock already. We can actually untap our Liquimetal Coating via key and then start turning lands into artifact, therefore making 2 lands not be able to tap for mana. But at this point, we also have the ability to create a lot of Saga tokens. So let's do that. Saga 1, Saga 2, that's the turn. They put in Urza's Tower, but still they cannot really cast a Ulamog here because they only have 9 mana. Opponent cast the One Ring and scoop it up. Okay, that was one of the most played decks in Modern. Let's try another one. Our second case study. Looking at our hand, opening hand, definitely a keep. This is a Surge Node into Astral Cornucopia and a payoff with Mystic Forge. So, quite nice. Being on a play is also good. Let's start a Surge Node into Astral Cornucopia. Pass the turn. Opponent started with an Overgrown Tomb untapped into a Delighted Halfling. So definitely this is Yawgmoth. They have a couple of ways to interact with us. Put in a Surge counter on Cornucopia. Voltaic Key. Pass the turn. Opponent went with Wall of Roots into Agatha's Soul Cauldron. Yikes. Okay, that's a Power Conduit. I think we can dump our hand here. First start the Surge Node into Cornucopia. Cornucopia into Power Conduit before untapping it first. Tap it first. Cast the Power Conduit. Cast the Astral Cornucopia for 0. Put some counters on Cornucopia from Surge Node. And then cast the Manifold Key. And finally cast the Expedition Map. In this way, we can try to Expedition Map for our Inventors Fair in case our Mystic Forge actually gets discarded. And search for a One Ring. Hopefully we can cast that and pass the turn. Once turn, they played a Dryad Arbor into another Delighted Halfling into Young Wolf with 1 card in hand. They're going to attack with the Halfling. We're going to take 1 damage. Going to pass the turn. During our upkeep, they cast an Orcish Bowmaster. They don't have now cards in hand. They're going to shoot us in the face. We drew a Blast Zone. It's quite good, but not really because we also have a couple of keys in play. Start off by putting in a Surge counter to the Cornucopia. Move another counter to Cornucopia. Cast our Mystic Forge, and that's our Karn. From there, we can untap our Cornucopia. Cast Karn. Untap the Cornucopia again. Cast the key. Untap the Cornucopia again. And wish with Karn. From this position, we do have a couple of options here. We can actually go for the One Ring directly and hopefully draw some cards. But that being said, we do have Orcish Bowmaster. We can say goodbye to our Karn immediately. We could also go for the boat. Not a very good idea, to be honest. Could also go directly to a Paradox Engine and tap everything and put in an Everflowing Chalice. But that being said, we don't really have any way for us to do anything at all because we don't have a payoff as of yet. We may want to have a Mystic Forge situation where we can theoretically dig for 3 more cards, but that's a bit risky. So I'll probably go for a Ensnaring Bridge at this point. That being said, if I go for Ensnaring Bridge and I tap deck a Might, that won't save them because Karn shuts down their ability. And they would need to top deck exactly Boseiju to deal with our Ensnaring Bridge. Even if they go for Boseiju Ensnaring Bridge, they need to attack our Karn. Else, we'll probably just go for a One Ring next turn and then go for draw a lot of cards. Plus, we also have a Mystic Forge in play that would essentially guarantee us the win. So let's go for Ensnaring Bridge. Cast the Ensnaring Bridge before casting our Everflowing Chalice into play. Woo! It's a lot. Pass the turn. And the opponent scoop it up. Alright, on to game 2. This is actually game number 3. We lost game number 2. Looking at this hand, this is a hand that we can definitely keep. We do have a Search Node into Astral Cornucopia and an Everflowing Chalice with the payoff card Karn. If you have these types of hand, you definitely are obligated to keep. Gemstone Cavern, Surge Node, Cornucopia. Because in theory, you can actually just go cast Everflowing Chalice next turn, multi-key card 1, and then activate Search Node into Astral Cornucopia. Overgrown Tomb, tapped. Not a very good sign for us. This could be a Force of Vigor. Let's put a Surge Node into Cornucopia, land drop, go for Chalice, multi-key card 1, cast Manifold Key, and next turn we can go Karn. Opponent went with the Blooming Marsh into Wall of Roots into Delighted Halfling. Pass the turn. My turn. Put a counter on Cornucopia. Land drop. Float some mana. Karn Great Creator. Tick down. Go for Coretapper. We did sideboard one out in lieu of a Pithing Needle so that we can search for it via the Urza Saga. Manifold Key. Untap the Cornucopia to cast the Coretapper, creating a blocker via Karn for the Karn, and also putting in a more counter on our Cornucopia. Opponent put a land drop into play, and put in a Grist. Oof. Not a good look for us. That's a Cauldron. Okay. Now they're going to activate the Grists, sacrifice the Halfling, put Karn down, activate Cauldron, target Wall of Roots, passes the turn. Okay. We have a lot of mana here, but we don't have a payoff, which is quite bad. We can also just attack Grist by giving it unblockable or Coretapper. Let's see what the top deck is. Top deck is another Karn, a very good top deck for us. At this point, we're going to put in some counters on Cornucopia, sacrifice it on our Chalice, just to hedge. Put some counters on Cornucopia. Here's Karn. Activate Karn. Put in the One Ring. Cast One Ring. Draw another One Ring. Untap One Ring. Casually draw 3 cards right now. And at this point, I want to put in as much as pressure on board. So we're going to put in a Mystic Forge into play, revealing a Coretapper on top. I'm okay with that. We can pass the turn. Ooh, floating mana. And they Boseiju our Mystic Forge. Okay, we're going to search for a forest. Not so bad for us. We still have a Karn and a Run Ring. That's a Grist token. Opponent looks like going to cast another Grist. Yikes. We're going to sacrifice that Insect token, kill our Karn, activate Agatha's Cauldron to eat Grists, activate Grist again. Alright, our turn. Opponent has 2 cards in hand and we have a lot of mana. Go for the One Ring. Take 2 damage. Ooh, that's a key. Very good for us. Not so good for our opponent. Start off by drawing some cards, float some mana, putting the keys into play, and tap the One Ring. At this point, we're looking for payoffs. Alright, that's a lot of cards. And we do have the Aeon Storm plus Karn Great Creator. If opponent doesn't have a way to interact with us, we'll probably win. Put in a counter on Astral Cornucopia. Tap and tap. Float some mana. 9 mana casual. Put in the Karn. Activate Karn. Put in Paradox Engine. Cast Paradox Engine. Then from there, we can untap everything via multi-kicked Chalice. Untap everything. And at this point, we're just gonna win. Tap and tap all the manas. We want to cast Emrakul, which should just untap everything and prompt a concession. Test case number 3. From the looks of this, we can't really keep this with there's no land, so it's an easy mulligan. We're on the play. This hand doesn't have a payoff. Plus, we do have Ancient Stirrings without a green mana source, so I think we can do better. We are mulligan down to 5. Looking at this hand, we do have an Urza Saga, which we can theoretically search for a Surge Node for our Everflowing Chalice. Plus, we can also cast Everflowing Chalice. I think this is a keep. We have no choice, but we have to bottom Emrakul and the One Ring. Opponent starts first, and that's a Hallowed Fountain. Is this control? Ether Vial. Ooh. This points to be spirits or humans. One ring, Tendo Ice Bridge, and pass the turn. One ticks up, Flooded Strand, pass the turn. Interesting. So let's start with Coretapper. Let's see if they have any response here. They sacrifice and search for a Triome. I don't like where this is headed. This could be where they do have a Leyline Binding. But let's humor them by putting in an Everflowing Chalice. Vial ticks up to 2. Riptide Laboratory. This looks to be wizards. Interesting. Saga ticks up. Put in a Blast Zone into play. And let's just pass the turn. I'm afraid of the Flames of Anur. Either Vial ticks up. With that on the stack, I don't want them to have a mana for Queller and also have a Binder. So let's activate Coretapper, targeting our Chalice. Ether Vial comes in, okay, with 2 counters on it. Spellstutter Sprite, Fairy Wizard, and Flame of Anur. Destroy target artifact and deal 5 damage to target creature. This is what I was afraid of, but we have no choice here. Put in some counters on the Chalice and activate our Saga. Create a creature. Vial ticks up, but not really. They didn't choose to tick it up. Land drops for a Flooded Strand. Pass the turn. 1 mana available. Surge Node. This is a good sign for us. We can just go search for a Everflowing Chalice since we already have a Surge Node into play. Float some mana. They're going to fetch Flooded Strand. Hallowed Fountain tap. Okay, this is a weird interaction for us. Chalice comes in for 0. Land drop Boseiju. Let's now cast our One Ring. Attack with our Construct token. Draw some cards. Pass the turn. Opponent ticks up, but not really. Stays at 2. Interesting. Seachrome Coasts. We're gonna pass the turn. One Ring would hit us for 1. The Vial is actually indicative that they might not have Tishana. Tendo Ice Bridge. Let's put in a bait spell. Voltaic Key might be the play here. Vial comes in, activating Riptide Laboratory. Okay, and then they're going to Vial in the Riptide Spellstutter Sprite, countering our Voltaic Key. But that's okay because that was a decoy. Here's my Manifold Key, increasing our Construct token. Here's my Surge Node. Surge Node comes into play. We draw some cards with the One Ring. Activate for Everflowing Chalice. And tap the ring again. Draw some cards. Go to attacks. 5 damage here. They're not blocking. Vial finally ticks up. Cavern of Souls. I'm assuming this is Wizards. Confirmed Wizards deck. Watcher of Tomorrow. Hideaway 4. Interesting. They are not gonna attack. One Ring hits us for 3. Coretapper. Let's cast Coretapper. Activate immediately on Chalice. Draw some cards with One Ring. We're basically baiting out if they have Tishana. Inventors Fair into play. Surge Node into Chalice. Cast Manifold Keys. And tap our ring. Draw some cards. Another Coretapper. Tap the Chalice. Cast the Coretapper. Now, at this point, we can actually go for Manifold Key and give Construct token unblockable, but it seems to me that that would be a very risky maneuver given that we don't know what our opponent has. Plus, they do have combat tricks as well. They showed us Flame of Anur that could destroy our token. So I think it's just much more convenient for us to put in as much pressure on board or permanence on board. Let's Boseiju their Aether Vial. Let's force the activation. So we have a trick here wherein there's a Vial for 3. Now I'm going to put in a counter on that Vial via our Surge Node, giving it Vial for 4. Aether Vial actually has 4 counters right now, and it seems like they won't have anything at this point. Destroyed. Search for a Steam Vents tapped, and from here we can force a jump block. We want them to theoretically be tapped out. Go Spellstutter Sprite, and depending if they go for Riptide Laboratory here, yes they do. We're clear for a Chalice for 0, but we decided not to go for it so that we do have a lot more density, card density next turn. But to be honest, I should have just played a Chalice there. It was a freebie. Opponent casts a Deputy of Detention. Nice. Eating our token right here. Either Vial again. And at this point, I think we'll just go for the Emrakul line and win the game. Triggers on the stack. One Ring gives us 5 damage. Land drop the Saga. Give Chalice all the counters that we have. Tap and tap. Tap and tap. Put in a counter, and let's cast a Emrakul. Usually this prompts a concession. We take an extra turn after this one. If not, we can just recast a One Ring here. Alright. Next game. This is actually game number 3. We lost game number 2. They did show us a Magus of the Moon. That's actually a wizard there. And a couple of cards that are wizardly and took us by surprise. This hand looks like a keep for us. We do have an Ancient Stirring to search for a Cornucopia or a Chalice. So let's keep Boseiju into our expedition map because we want to search for our Urza Saga as much as possible. Ether Vial on turn 1, not a good sign for us. It's a land. Let's search for expedition map immediately after we cast the Power Conduit. There's no point in searching it during our turn a while ago because we can't really play that land or the Saga. Now we can do search for Saga right now, put it into play, cast a Surge Node as a bait spell. Let's see what our opponent has. Steam Vents, and this is a Spell Stutter Sprite. Take up for Ether Vial. Hopefully we dodge the Magus of the Moon. I'm going to take that 1 damage past the turn. We're going to put in a Saga. Alright. They're going to fetch a land. Take up Vial for 3. This would mean Tishana or Magus of the Moon. Hopefully not. They're going to attack us for another 1. That's not really a great clock here. So at this point, we have an option to activate our Saga, but we don't want to give them full value for their Flames of Anor. So I decided to pass. We're going to move that Saga token into our own Power Conduit. Get to search our library for Everflowing Chalice. We can then maybe cast Voltaic Key, which is our bait spell. Pass the turn. And my suspicion is correct. They are sandbagging a Flames of Anor. We can untap the Power Conduit via Voltaic Key. Activate the Power Conduit again. Remove the Saga token to Chalice. Shoots our Power Conduit here and pass the turn. We decided to be that way because we want to put in pressure on board. Plus, I want to search the library for either a Surge Node or a Key. But it takes up to 5. Interesting. Sleep Cursed Fae. Gonna take another damage. That's 1. They're keeping 3 mana up. Let's see what they have. This could be Tishana. Let's activate here. And I know this could be a way for them to put in more pressure via Flames of Anor. But I was thinking if they could Flames of Anor, hit our Everflowing Chalice, go to our turn, we can put in another Construct token into play and cast a Surge Node as well while searching for another Everflowing Chalice. Win-win for us. But no, they don't have it, so that's good for us. At this point, I'm just going to put in another Construct token into play, put in more pressure into play. They're going to go for an Ether Vial here in response to our trigger. What could this be? Sky Huskar, which is also a Human Knight, Wizard. Untapping Spell Starter Sprite. We get a Manifold Key. Put in a Surge Node as a bait spell. Spell Queller, Surge Node, and attack. They're going to take down to 8. They're going to attack us for 6. It's not really good race for them because we do have more power in play. But if they go for Deputy, then we might be in trouble. Luckily, they don't have it. We top deck in Inventors Fair. Play Inventors Fair. Put some Surge counters on our Chalice. Cast Power Conduit. Try to bait a spell here. Spell Stutter Sprite. Baited. Go to attacks. Attack our opponent. Block 1 down to 2. We could also put them down to 1, but I feel like we do have more things that we can do with our mana, like cast the One Ring, activate One Ring, cast our Ancient Stirrings, and we see the 3rd Spell Starter Sprite. Pass the turn. We're down to 11, but we are protected via the ring. Ether Channeler bounces our token with 2 cards in hand. Cornucopia, Saga triggers. Let's float a mana. Search for a key. Tap and tap. Give it a unblockable. Let's see if they have anything here because we have a lot of avenues. We can go for Coretapper into our Manifold Key if they have anything in terms of bouncing our creature or exiling our Construct token. And then from there, we can draw a lot of cards via the One Ring. But it looks like they don't have an answer and they scoop it up. Nice. Alright, that's it. Now if you enjoyed the gameplay, subscribe to your boy and give it a thumbs up. Let me know on the comment section down below what type of deck I should be playing in the next modern gameplay. That's it. See you in the next one.